how to make a chainsaw carved spirit face Tiki Osprey nest stand. It's kind of a long title. This particular stand was inspired by an earlier Tiki pole that I made, which ended up being just a little bit too short. I tried, this is the earlier pole that I had made. I did mount it in the marsh. The ospreys seemed to love it. They moved in the very next day. I was very pleased with it, but again, it was just a little bit too short. I got the opportunity to get a slightly longer pole from a neighbor and figured I'd give it a shot with a slightly different design, this time a spirit face carved pole. So anyway, this project is fairly easy. I used a black magic marker just to draw the basic shape of the face that I wanted to carve. And then I'm just using a little electric chainsaw. This is a Craftsman. I've outlined the details on the face. I'm working on the rim of the hat. And you can either cut down to that outline cutting, or you can grind. And by grinding, I mean just holding that blade against the wood and kind of moving it back and forth without applying too much pressure at all. Just kind of letting that chain scrape away the material. It's slower than cutting the material away, but because this is literally the third pole that I've ever made, I'm just kind of taking my time and gradually removing the material. So again, I'm just going to use this technique. I'm going to outline or cut in on all of the outlines, and then I'm going to grind away the material that I want removed. So you can see that I've started to outline the eyes, the eye socket, the nose. I'm working my way around the mustache. And I'm cutting in, probably almost an inch. Nothing here is set in stone. If you can get the whole thing done and it's not quite deep enough, you can go back and outline it again and make it a little bit deeper. So now I'm going to use the flat edge of the chain and just start to grind away the cheeks. I'm going to come at it from a couple of different angles so that I don't chop into the nose or chop into the mustache. And I was very pleasantly surprised. This whole carving, probably took me somewhere in about 4 hours. To get rid of all of the rough marks made from that chainsaw, I'm using an angle grinder with a wood cutting wheel on it. I got this online. I think it was on Amazon. This removes material very quickly. You do have to be careful with it. Make sure that you're using 2 hands to hold that angle grinder because it will bind and grab on and it can do some damage. Now I've gone back down towards the bottom of the pole and I'm going to outline the beard using that same technique. I'm going to cut in on the outline, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to remove all the excess material surrounding the beard just by grinding it away. And I'm sure experienced chainsaw carvers are going to come back and let me know that there's easier ways of doing this. I'm not an expert. It's my third one. This is all I'm doing is documenting how I did it. I'm not by any means claiming that this is the best way to carve these things. I'm working on the eye sockets now with that angle grinder and wood cutting wheel, just slowly shaping it. And depending on how smooth you want to get it, if you were really doing a fine piece, you could go back afterwards and use a flap sanding wheel, maybe an 80 grit. This pole is actually getting mounted out in a marsh island, so it really doesn't have to get down to that real smooth state. I'm going to cut some texture, some grooves into the beard. I did it at first with the angle grinder, and I thought that this was going to be sufficient. But when it was all said and done, I actually went back over it with the chainsaw and cut some deeper grooves. This is a little Dremel tool with a cutting wheel. I thought that would be a cool way of making some additional hair detail on the mustache. And I also did that on the eyebrows. I used a speed bore just to drill 2 holes for the eyes. And this is a pressure-treated pole. The piling was actually made for the marine environment. I used a torch just to darken up the mustache as well as the eyelids, and I used it actually on the rim of the hat and also on the hat itself. Any area that gets darkened that you don't want dark, you can go back over and just sand it, and it'll lighten it up again. This is basically the finished product. I did want to add arms, so I just screwed those on, and some cross members to give the ospreys a little head start with building a nest. The next step was go out in the marsh, find a spot, and dig a hole. In order to transport this thing around, I made a little seesaw cart, just 2 wheels that are screwed onto the pole, and I'm able to push down on one side and then just roll it around, almost like a hand truck. Now with that, I was able to get it down onto the dock kind of by myself, and I even got it onto the skiff by myself. In order to get it out into the marsh, I definitely needed a little bit of help. I was kind of surprised. The skiff really handled the weight very nicely. It picked a nice day. And then I had the good fortune of my friend Anthony, who's a big, strong guy, came over and helped me drag this thing, or I should say he did the work. He dragged this thing into position and was able to stand it up right into the hole that we had dug on a previous day. You can see I have 2 pressure-treated 2x4s at the bottom. That's to prevent this pole from sinking too deep. This marsh island is really just mud once you get underneath all the roots of the reeds. I screwed those arms back in place, and this is the finished product, how it looks when you're accessing the area by boat. So it is going to be a kind of a prominent feature to the marsh. Hopefully the ospreys will move in once they come back to the area in the spring. And this one definitely ended up being a little bit taller. It's probably close to 12 feet tall at the top of the arms. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see some of the other creations that we've done, check out the website DIYeasycrafts.com.